Hey there, and welcome to This Explainer. Look, today we're tackling something that honestly causes a lot of anxiety, graphic design. But here's the best part right off the bat. You absolutely do not need an art degree for this. We're going to explore how anyone, and yes, that includes total non-designers, can use just a few incredibly simple, powerful rules straight from our source text to take documents and presentations from, well, messy to absolute masterclasses.
Let's be real for a second. Have you ever been trapped staring at a massive, confusing wall of text? Or maybe worse, sat through a presentation where the slides were just so visually chaotic you practically felt your eyes glazing over? Yeah, we've all been there. Trying to decode badly formatted documents is beyond frustrating. And if you're the one creating the content, that is literally the absolute last experience you want to put your audience through.
There's actually a specific phrase for this kind of presentation misery. Presentation expert David J.P. Phillips famously calls it death by PowerPoint. As the source material points out, making poor design choices, like say, copy-pasting your entire spoken script onto a single screen, doesn't just annoy people. It actively strains your viewers' cognitive capacity to find the important info. It ruins the presentation, and honestly, it can take a serious toll on your professional credibility.
Okay, let's dive into this. Here's our roadmap for today. First, introduction to document design. Second, the CRAP principles. Third, typography and layout rules. Fourth, the smart use of color. And finally, curing death by PowerPoint. Let's kick things off with Section 1, Introduction to Document Design. This is all about making modest, highly functional choices.
Moving right into Section 2, the CRAP principles, which is a fantastic foundational framework.
This was popularized by Robin Williams back in her 1993 book for non-designers, and she used a slightly cheeky but a highly memorable acronym, CRAP: Contrast, Repetition, Alignment, and Proximity. Decades later, these 4 principles are still the absolute bedrock for creating attractive, readable documents. Let's break them down.
First up, we have contrast. The rule here is super straightforward. If 2 elements are different, you've got to make them obviously different. Our source uses this brilliant visual metaphor of a suit. Imagine wearing a jacket and pants in just slightly different shades of black. It doesn't look intentional. It causes visual conflict, right? It looks like a mistake. But if you pair black pants with a crisp light gray jacket, boom, effective intentional contrast. Don't be timid here. Whether you're playing with font size, weight, or color, you want those differences to be bold.
Next, we've got repetition. This is really just a fancy way of saying visual consistency. For instance, if your Level 2 headings are, say, a specific size and bolded, then literally every single Level 2 heading in that document needs to match that exact style. Same deal with your bullet points. By locking in this consistent visual structure, you're essentially giving your reader a reliable map. They can navigate your whole document smoothly without having to constantly relearn your formatting rules on every single page.
Now, the last 2 principles, alignment and proximity, work together beautifully. Think about giving a messy recipe a total makeover. A giant, unformatted block of text is a nightmare to follow. But the moment we introduce invisible alignment lines, we create instant structure. It tells the eye exactly where to look. Then we apply proximity, which just means grouping conceptually related items together. Doing this naturally generates white space. That white space separates the steps, gives your reader's eyes a much-needed break, and drastically improves readability.
All right, on to Section 3, Typography and Layout Rules. This is where we talk about how to actually structure words on the page.
With our core framework in mind, let's get tactical. First up, typefaces. We generally deal with 3 main categories. Serif fonts. These are the ones with the little feet or tails on the letters, are absolutely fantastic for large blocks of printed body text. Sans serif fonts, no feet here, look exceptionally clean and modern, making them perfect for screens, projector slides, and headings. Then you have display fonts. These are your fancy, decorative ones, and you really want to use them sparingly, mostly just for branding or massive titles. Oh, and a quick pro tip on combining fonts. If you're contrasting sizes, always keep a minimum difference of 4 points. Anything less, and it just looks like an accident.
Let's pivot to layout, because we've got some rapid-fire best practices that will instantly boost your professionalism. Number 1, break out of that standard boring 1-inch academic margin. You can definitely go smaller. Just make sure to maintain at least a ½ inch margin so the page doesn't feel suffocated. Next, use headings liberally to spotlight key topics and format them to show a clear hierarchy. For the very lowest level of your hierarchy, you might want to try a run-in heading. That's where the bolded title simply runs right into the start of the paragraph and ends with a period. It looks super clean.
Lists are another incredible layout tool. They emphasize key points and completely destroy those dreaded walls of text. But there are procedural rules you have to follow. Always introduce your list with a complete lead-in sentence that ends in a colon. Keep your spacing, capitalization, and punctuation totally consistent across the board. Ensure your items use parallel phrasing, meaning they all follow the exact same grammatical structure. And lastly, drop a follow-up comment after the list to wrap up the context. Just remember, they are powerful, so don't overuse them or they lose their punch entirely.
Okay, moving into Section 4, the smart use of color, because color is an incredibly powerful visual tool.
Color has to be used wisely, otherwise it is ridiculously distracting. Let's do a super quick review of the color wheel. You've got primary colors, red, blue, yellow, secondary colors, green, violet, orange, and tertiary colors, which are those in-between mixes like red, orange. Notice how the colors sitting directly across from each other are complementary. They create this dynamic, eye-popping contrast. On the flip side, analogous colors, the ones sitting right next to each other on the wheel, create a nice, harmonious sense of unity.
But when it comes to applying color to text, you've got to use restraint. Purple or red text on a pitch-black background? Honestly, it's virtually unreadable. Instead, you want to stick to professional contrast. Think black body text on a crisp white or light gray background, and maybe use a dark, rich color for your headings to make them stand out. And here is a critically important accessibility note straight from the source. Avoid using contrasting shades of red and green or blue and yellow. Skipping those combos accommodates folks with common types of colorblindness, ensuring your work is crystal clear for everyone. Which brings us to Section 5, Curing Death by PowerPoint. Let's talk effective slide design.
We focused a lot on text-heavy documents, but slides? Slides are an entirely different beast. The single biggest mistake you can make is copy-pasting your entire script onto a slide. When you do that, you are actively working against your audience's cognitive capacity. Think about it. They literally cannot read a massive wall of text and listen to you speak at the exact same time. Instead, your slides need minimal text. They should serve as a permanent visual anchor for your main points, which completely frees you up to deliver the actual details out loud.
So, the crucial point to take away here is this. When designing slides, simplicity wins every single time. Break your information up across multiple slides instead of cramming it all onto one. Go for large, highly readable fonts. Remember those clean sans serif typefaces we just talked about? Perfect for this. And stick to a consistent visual theme. Actually, if you're not an experienced designer, using built-in stock templates is a fantastic little hack to automatically enforce those repetition and alignment principles we learned earlier. Ultimately, taking the time to apply these simple formatting rules will completely transform how you communicate technical information. Good design frees the speaker. It lets you actually connect with the people in the room instead of just reading off a glowing rectangle. And, just as importantly, it respects the reader. It makes your information accessible, logically structured, and way more memorable.
Which leaves us with one final thought. Armed with this new understanding of contrast, repetition, alignment, and proximity, you literally have the tools to elevate anything you create. So the next time you sit down to draft a report or build a slide deck, you've got to ask yourself, is this going to be a masterpiece or just crap? Go out there, put these principles to work, and watch your documents absolutely transform. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer.